Welcome to another episode of Dad Mods. Today we're going to show you guys how to take a 3-legged engine stand and turn it into a 4-legged engine stand.
Yeah, so we're going to chop the front of this. We're going to weld on some 2x2 11 gauge stock we have, add some casters, pan her up, and that'll be that.
Make it awesome. So thank you for tuning in. Let's get into this thing.
Yep. Let's build some stuff. Aw, you left me hanging. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is measure this back leg. We're going to cut the front leg to be the same width as that. So it comes out to 27 3/8. Mark that on our 2x2 over here. So we're going to need to cut this down, obviously. What we're also going to do are these casters are too wide. So we're going to cut angle iron the same length of them and weld them onto the side of the 2x2 to help reinforce this when we go to weld the caster on. And once we cut it, we'll mark for the second one, cut that off, and lay everything out and start welding.
Okay, so now that we've got these pieces cut, like Donnie had said, we're going to be using the angle iron as kind of an extension, like extending the platform here for these to get welded to. So the first thing I'm going to do is take and weld on this angle iron. So I'm just going to butt the angle iron up to the edge on both sides and weld it on. Okay, so finished up with the welding on here. Turned out really pretty. So what we're gonna do now is weld on the casters. So we're basically building the full front end of this thing before we actually put it onto the engine stand. So what I'm gonna do is, because this has holes in it for where the fasteners would be going through, we're just gonna weld this thing straight on. And I'm gonna leave just enough of a lip all the way around so that we can also just kind of do a little brief stitch welding around that outside perimeter in the places that we can kind of get to. So plug welds, little stitch weld, and that should be more than enough to keep it in place and support the weight. So, got them both ready. Okay, so we got, Donnie did a great job of cutting the front end of this thing, removed the old mount for the caster, and so the last step is really going to be just taking the paint off and then burning it in, and then we're going to do a little bit of gusseting, and then that's kind of the end of it, and then we just got to clean it up and prep it for paint. So let's start by finding the center of this thing. Time to weld this thing. So the most important thing is to check to make sure that everything's square. So we've got this corner square, and we checked it out, straightened it all out, and it is in fact squared up. We've got our center marks already done. And so what we're going to do is now just weld all the way around this thing to get it good and secured on there. And then we're going to take this last little lip here, and I think what I'm going to do is actually hammer that thing down and then weld around the last bit of it. I guess it helped if it was grounded.
What the f*** is with this guy?
so we've thrown together a little box now, and what this is going to be for is attaching to the side of your engine stand, or our engine stand. And what that's going to do is just give us a place to toss fasteners for attaching the engine to the stand itself. Also, we're going to have a piece of round stock that's going to actually go through the entire the neck, the vertical piece of this engine stand. And what the purpose of this peg is going to be for is holding a drain pan. And we're going to show you guys how we're going to go about making a slot on this lower piece, this center piece, that's actually going to allow us to have a drain pan rest on it and kind of be fastened into place. Next step is to remove the sticker from the side of this, knock some of the paint off so that we can weld things on, and then we'll move on to the next step. So it's not the prettiest thing. We are going to splash a little bit of paint on it before final usage, but so it's welded together, and we've got the fastener sticking out the bottom with a little piece of rubber. That's just going to help keep the paint from getting scuffed up too much. So last thing for us to do is to test it out. So you can see it's got very minimal tippage to the sides, so you don't have to really worry about it, getting bumped and kicked off or anything like that. It's not going to, and it can slide really nicely. So the only thing left to do is to throw some gussets onto this thing, and then we're going to splash some paint on it and call it a day. Got to somehow maneuver between all of these cameras. Not me being the clumsy bastard that I am.
Just remember the 5 Ds.
5 Ds of dodgeball?
Dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge.
Okay, so that wraps up our video on how we modified the engine stand and took it from 3 points of contact to 4. So now it's not a total sketch fest holding up bigger motors.
Inline 6.
Exactly. So thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.